Welcome to Lake TV's Community Spotlight show presented by the great folks at COMC, Central Ozarks Medical Center, where your health is their mission. And we're talking with Jeff Green, attorney at law, who joined us today because the topic is stop human trafficking, right?
Correct.
And you are a big player in the local organization for Stop Human Trafficking. What do you do for the organization?
I do this a lot. I'm the mouthpiece.
You talk about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I get to speak to a lot of groups. I'm a board member of the organization. I helped them initially set up the 501c3 status when we were incorporated back in 2016. And since one of our major goals is education and awareness, I'm the one that gets elected to do most of the guest speaking.
Well, it helps to be so pretty too, right?
I can't help that.
Yeah, I mean, you were just born with it. I mean, it's amazing. Okay, so you kind of help them legitimize, I guess, to become, a 501c3 and all of that stuff. When did that happen?
So we did that actually in 2016.
Okay.
The organization initially started somewhere around 2012, 2013, and they decided in late 2015-16 that they really needed to become a charitable organization in order to get appropriate donations from folks.
Yeah.
And so we established that, and I believe it was July of 2016.
Okay, so about 8 years when as we talk now.
Right.
And this human trafficking, I mean, it's really come to the forefront the last few years. Before that, I don't know that people really believed it or saw it, but human trafficking is like the second largest criminal activity in the world, right?
It really is. And as hard as that is to believe, it's really there, because this is one of those things that most people just don't see.
Yeah.
It's not running around on the streets that much. You don't see it in the news that much. So much of it is going on behind the scenes and on the dark web and some of that kind of thing that it just doesn't have that appeal to most people. Most people don't like talking about it.
Yeah, it is one of those dirty, dark, nasty kind of secrets that we just don't want to think about, we don't want to get into. Right. Second largest criminal activity to drug trafficking, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's even larger than arms trafficking, which, most of what's in our news today is arms trafficking. We've kind of slid away from drugs quite so much. But yeah, it's an incredible amount of money that goes on. It's a multi-billion-dollar business.
Wow. So, and there was a movie out recently called The Sound of Freedom that made a whole lot more people aware that this is actually a thing, that it's real. And did that help the local organization of Stop Human Trafficking? Did that hurt? Is it a good representation of what's happening?
That's a really good question. I think it's helped the awareness quite a bit. There have been several movies out on this topic.
Okay.
There was one that came out a few years ago. Frankly, I don't remember the name of it. But when Sound of Freedom came out, I believe it was last year.
Yeah.
It really brought a lot of awareness, and there was a lot of publicity behind that came out.
Yeah.
I think it's a good representation of what's going on maybe worldwide.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really a good representation of what's going on in the United States.
Why is that? What's different?
Well, there's not so much of the grab and run kind of thing that it was portraying. It's not so, they were down in, I want to say Honduras or Colombia or Bogota, somewhere down in South Central America. And while that may be accurate, and I take nothing away from the movie, first of all, let's recall that movie was probably 8 or 9 years old when it came out.
Right, okay.
So that's probably from around 2010, I'm guessing.
Okay.
Things have changed a lot. The internet has really opened up human trafficking to the world.
Interesting.
And has really caused a whole lot more trafficking events going on than necessarily what that movie portrayed.
Even more, even worse.
Even worse.
Well, because, things have gotten more sophisticated, and certainly with an open border, that probably has not helped at all.
Right.
What is human trafficking? What does that mean?
So human trafficking, much to the surprise of many people, doesn't necessarily involve transportation of individuals.
Really?
We had a discussion with some folks, I'm going to say in the last couple of weeks, and they were thinking that for example, the aliens, the illegal aliens that are moving from the border to whether it's New York City or Chicago or anywhere else, that's human trafficking because they're transporting these illegal immigrants across the country. That's not human trafficking. Trafficking involves force, fraud, or coercion of an individual for money. Okay?
Like against their will.
Like against their will.
Okay.
And against their will is even subject because the manipulation of the mind that goes on in a human trafficking situation so much, sometimes it's hard to tell what that human will is any longer.
Right.
But when you start talking about force, fraud, or coercion, it's not somebody that's trying to get away from their environment like they are in Colombia or Bogota or Mexico or wherever that is they're coming here from. It's significantly different than that.
Wow, okay. So we're talking with Jeff Green, General Counsel for the local Stop Human Trafficking. Fascinating subject. We'll continue to learn more, try to understand more when we come back on Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show. If you love the lake, you gotta love Lake TV. At COMC, your health is our mission. Central Ozarks Medical Center offers 3 OBGYNs at the Osage Beach Clinic and 2 pediatricians with same-day appointments available. At COMC, our doors are open to everyone with 5 primary care locations conveniently located across the Ozarks. COMC for the best medical, dental, and behavioral health care. Get more info on how COMC can help you at centralozarks.org. COMC, where your health is our mission.
Don't miss out on your favorite show. Watch Lake TV on demand on YouTube, Roku, and Fire TV.
Welcome back to Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show presented by the great folks at COMC, Central Ozarks Medical Center. So we're learning about human trafficking, right? Jeff Green, General Counsel for Lake of the Ozarks Stop Human Trafficking. And you were telling us before the break that human trafficking doesn't necessarily require transportation, right? I mean, it can happen in one area, but a person is being trafficked or used or coerced in an illegal way.
Yeah, let me tell you one of the things that really, really opened my eyes when I started delving into this topic, and to show you how much transportation is not recorded. One of the things that I learned early on when I started looking into this was with the internet these days, sometimes the individuals may not even leave their own home. Now, let's keep in mind that the average age of an individual is 13 years old.
Oh, that's it?
It's a very, very young age.
Right.
So now we're talking about young teenagers. And young teenagers, as we all know, like to use, these things called phones.
Yeah.
And we use them frequently for everything.
Yeah.
And they're on their phones playing games, they're doing TikTok, they're doing Facebook, they're doing any number of other applications. And a lot of them will get themselves in trouble because they'll be communicating with someone that they don't necessarily know.
Right.
And we've heard this in other actions, whether it's sexting or any other number of things that are going on. And what happens is they can be entrapped into a situation where they have sent photographs of themselves. And now they suddenly learn that the person on the other end isn't a 14-year-old friend of theirs. It's a 34-year-old individual that's looking for, something out of them. And so what that individual will then do is say, hey, so I don't disclose these photographs that you have sent to me to your church or to your school or to your neighbors or whomever that may be, your friends and family. Here's what I need you to do. When you go to your bedroom tonight to study for your test tomorrow or do your homework, just tell your parents, hey, I'm going to my room, I'm going to do my homework. Close the door, Most of them have a laptop that they're working on because schools are issuing those. All you got to do is log into this website, and we'll give you the information. And once you log in there, you just do whatever you're asked to do. And so we have young children at home in their bedrooms being exposed to human trafficking, and nobody knows, and they've never left their home.
Wow.
It's really a scary thing when you think about that.
It really is. And so you have these young kids, and of course, they did something stupid, but you know, the kids will do that. And I think they're dealing with another, you know, somebody their age, and they're dealing with, you know, a criminal that's 30, 35 and wants to exploit them. And all of a sudden they're in this hole where if you don't do what I tell you to do here, I'm going to out you, basically. I'm going to expose you with all these pictures to, like you said, your church, your parents, your school friends, whatever. You better do what I tell you to do.
Right. You know, I'm sure you can remember about as well as I do. You know, back when we were that age, we did a lot of crazy things. Maybe some stupid stuff.
Oh, yeah. I can guarantee you I did stupid stuff.
You and me both.
Yeah.
The difference is we didn't have the internet that was going to expose all of that. So when we were doing that stuff, we were doing it face to face. And today's world, the kids just don't know.
Yeah.
They, you know, and I hear this a lot. They don't know what they don't know, and trying to educate them is difficult. Most of us understand that teenagers are a difficult breed, and many of them know more than their parents do. I've raised 3 daughters. I've let all 3 of them live. There were days, you know, where you wonder.
Sure. But that's the normal parent-teenager thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and so getting that education of those kids is a difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Well, and it also shows the importance of parents being involved, right? I mean, in a lot of cases in our society, whether it's, you know, TV shows, sitcoms, movies, whatever, where parents are the bad guy, you know, for really policing what their kids are doing and what they're watching and how they're using the, you know, the computer and everything. But that's actually a very important part in today's society to try to keep our children safe, right?
It really is. You know, there's human trafficking, you know, goes across the broad spectrum. It's not just for the poor or the disabled or the indigent or anything else. There's a good, I'm going to say movie, for lack of a better term, out that talks about a young lady who was about 12 or 13 when she got into this trafficking situation. And she was from an upper middle class family. You know, the parents were involved. She was in sports. They were involved in her athletics. Yet she still managed to get herself caught into one of these traps on the internet using one of her applications. And eventually she walked away with the individual that was trafficking her.
Wow.
And that becomes difficult.
Yeah.
When we talk about your own free will that you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
it sure looks like she walked away, and yet she's being trafficked.
Right. And you were saying something earlier. It's hard to distinguish sometimes when somebody has free will. And I mean, but it makes sense. Okay, all of a sudden these kids, and it doesn't have to be a kid, it can be somebody of any age, really.
Right.
You know, all of a sudden they're in this situation where I'm going to out you to your family or friends, or you do this. And so is it their will to do that? You know, and it's really not, because they've been trapped. They've been coerced. It's okay. So this is such an amazing, dark, hard thing to handle. We're down to our last few seconds. If folks need to get some more information, they want to learn more, or they want to volunteer to help, or they need help out of being trafficked or something, where do they go? How can they find more information?
So we have a website. It's called Lake of the Ozarks Stop Human Trafficking.
Okay. The whole thing, Lake of the Ozarks?
Yep.
Okay.
And the stop is in all capital letters.
Okay.
I mention that only because we recently had to change our name. But if you just Google us, we also have a Facebook page. We keep both of those accurate, and both of those you can contact us for any further information or if you see something.
Okay, be sure to do that. So there you go. Jeff Green, Lake of the Ozarks Stop Human Trafficking. Thank you for joining us for Lake TV's Community Spotlight Show.
You're watching Lake TV.